So today's problem child is a 2013 GMC Yukon. Customers reported on a couple of occasions the entire instrument cluster is dead. No lights lit up, no gauges functioning. And when you do a network scan, he has a Autel Maxi AP200 scanner, and he says multiple computers are reporting loss of communication with the instrument cluster. So let's have a look at my network scan. So here's the results of my network scan. I've already done it. Three codes in the engine control computer not related to the problem, but of concern. P0011 camshaft position system performance. P0521 engine oil pressure sensor performance. And P219A fuel trim cylinder balance bank 1. But in the anti-lock brakes, we have a system disabled information stored in valid serial data, and then a network code, a U0155 in the airbag module for no communication with the gateway instrument panel cluster. BCM's reporting no communication with the instrument panel cluster. And driver's door switch, also passenger door switch, passenger presence system, and the radio, all complaining about a loss of communication with the instrument cluster. It's not currently acting up, obviously. So looking at network wiring and the instrument cluster, if the network was to go down, I don't think all the functions of the instrument cluster would go dead. So I'm leaning more towards checking these fuses, fuse 48 and fuse 46 in the fuse block under the hood. We all know how reliable these fuse blocks are, but at least check these two fuses for corrosion in case there's a problem with the fuses. I'm going to go back to the network scan here, and I'm going to do a network code clear of all controllers, and then we're going to pull the fuses out and look at them and see what codes generate by pulling those fuses. So I've cleared all the codes from all the controllers, and let's have a look at the fuses. So fuse 46 is this one right here, a 10 amp, and 48 is a 10 amp. But 48 says auxiliary HVAC ignition 10 amp. But we're going to pull those two fuses. That'll be this one here and this one over here. We're going to pull those two fuses and have a look at the spades. I'm going to pull this one here, number 46 first, and then see what codes it generates and what effect it has on the instrument cluster. So fuse 46 looks pretty clean, and I can see that with the fuse out, the instrument cluster is dead except for the check engine light on. I'm going to scan it now and see what codes it generates with that fuse removed. So here we go with a code scan. Do a post scan now and see what codes it's generating. Now I didn't start it, probably should have. I wonder if it'll actually start with that instrument cluster offline. So battery voltage plausibility failure. Well, I do have a battery charger on it, so maybe the voltage is set too high because it's 13.5 volts with the key on. But there's our U0155. We're still going through the network scan. So if there's a problem with that circuit, it would generate the network code because the instrument cluster shuts down. But it could also be an instrument cluster problem. Why is it taking so long to go through the network scan? I checked for cases on it. There are a few cases on it fixed by replacing the instrument cluster. But it does say to check the powers and grounds. We don't have communication with a bunch of other controllers here. The only one we have is the BCM. I wonder, because the instrument cluster is acting as a gateway, let's try to see if we can talk to the driver's door switch. Display codes. See, I think the instrument cluster acts as a gateway between the various networks. So we got no communication with the passenger door and the driver's door. Now that doesn't mean they're not going to report a loss of communication when we put that fuse back in. I'm going to reinstall that fuse and scan it again. So I have the fuse reinstalled now and the instrument cluster is awake again. Let's do another code scan and see if those modules that didn't respond, driver's door, passenger door, airbag module, yeah, see, there's that module, the airbag module didn't respond either. Only one that did was the BCM. So there's all the U codes. So HVAC controller had the code as well, and the passenger presence system I think had that code as well. Yeah, and the radio. So we can certainly mimic the problem with that circuit. Where is that picture of that diagram? Fuse 46, which is battery power to the instrument cluster. Doesn't show any connections between the fuse block and the instrument cluster, so there's no other place to check it other than the base of the fuse block, X4, terminal JX, J4. So I'm going to discuss it with the customer and see if he wants me to go any further, or if he's going to play with it and take apart connections and have a look at that himself. So we're going to remove that fuse box with the key off, of course, and we're going to specifically check the pin drag on this connector X4, terminal J4. And looking at the bottom of the fuse box, this is the bottom view of the fuse box. So this is X4, this is X5 with the other terminal in it. And I've highlighted the terminals. So there's X4 and it's the second row, J1 to J5, so J4 is the second one in. So we're going to pull the fuse box out and have a look at those pins, see if we can see any corrosion. If we can't, we're just going to clean them up, check pin drag, put some Stabilitin 22A on them and put it back together and clear all the codes and send it. So to remove that fuse panel, just unlatch these two and pull up on it simultaneously on both sides, and this pulls right out.
Recording.
So sometimes the connectors will lift out like this one has. There we go. Yeah, I think I got another one here that's stuck in there too. Normally the connectors stay into the Normally these connectors stay locked in here. So let's have a look here. We got to look at the bottom view of that. I think this is X4 and this is X5, but I'm going to get a picture of that bottom view. So this is X4 and this is X5, and looking at the layout of this connector and the connector view, it's hard to tell which end is which because it's symmetrical. In other words, it's the same on both sides. So is this J or is this J? Well, there's no pin in any one of these four locations, so it can't be J. It's got to be this one right here. That would make sense. And this is K. So it would be that pin right there. And on the other connector, I got to figure it out. But the terminals look clean. You know, there's no oxidation on the terminals that I can see other than invisible oxidation. So we're going to just spray some deoxit spray and blow this all off and put some dielectric grease in it. So there's all the terminals cleaned with this deoxit D5 and compressed air, and then I used Stabilitin 22A. I'm almost out. I have another new bottle on the appropriate terminals to enhance electrical conductivity. I used a diamond file on the terminals in question just to clean up any outside oxidation. We're going to put it back together again, clear all the codes, and send it. So I'm going to clear all the codes read by the code scan. As I said, we're chasing a ghost here, so this has apparently happened 2 or 3 times in the last year. Just recently, last week I think, or the other day. So it could be the instrument cluster, it could be wiring, could be one of those connections. But we're going to leave it at that, and I'll post a follow-up if we go any further with this. Thanks for watching.